What's going on, everybody? Packer Plug back with another video of breaking down the Packers 2024 NFL rookie draft class. Today we're going to be going over Javon, Bullard. Before we get started, like I've said in the last two videos, make sure you like, make sure you comment down below, make sure you subscribe, and keep supporting the channel. We've been growing tremendously, and I'm so incredibly thankful to everybody who clicks onto these videos, watches these videos, and I appreciate every single interaction that you guys give me. Today we're going to be going over Javon, Bullard, the Georgia Bulldogs safety that the Packers took in round 2, pick 26, and another exciting Green Bay Packers defensive pick. This is exactly where you want to see the Green Bay Packers go with their selection. This is exactly the type of player you want to see them take. And the number one thing, just before we get into anything, I want to say I love this pick just because of how hard this guy hits. I feel like with the first two defensive picks in this Packers 2020 draft, first pick you took Jordan Morgan, the second you took Edgerrin Cooper, and the third you took Javon Bullard. Now you picked two aggressive defensive players, and it's perfect because that's the exact tone you want to set with this new defense under Jeff Hafley. You want to get an aggressive defense that the Packers have lacked in the past. Going back to last year when we had Joe Barry, we had linebackers lining up at corner and a defense that kind of played a bend don't break mentality, that wouldn't really play aggressive football, would just kind of play over the top, don't give up anything big, don't be overly aggressive. And it feels like this new defense under Jeff Hafley, they're definitely going to go in a direction that's a lot more aggressive. And just from these first two defensive picks, you can tell that, because with Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker, he's an aggressive guy who flies to the ball. And you got the same with Javon Bullard. You got a guy who can go and lay the boom. He's a ball hawk. He's fast. He's athletic. And he can play all over the field. He can play at cornerback. He can come up in the box. He can play deep. He can really read and close the gap between the ball. Like, this guy is impressive. So let's get right into it. Javon Bullard, Georgia Bulldog, height 5'10". He is a little bit on the shorter side. Weight 198. You kind of look at that and you go, oh, it's a smaller safety, but there are smaller safeties in the NFL that have been great. And if you're a guy that's studious, you're a guy that can read things, you're a guy that has a high intellect, like it looks like Javon Bullard has when you watch the film, your size won't matter all that much at safety. I mean, it will matter. There's going to be guys that are going to be fast. There's going to be guys that can go up and get the ball over the top of you. There's going to be guys that can just, outsize you, and that's going to be what it is. But when it comes to safety, it's all about placement, speed, and seeing things before they happen, reading that quarterback, what's going to happen. And Javon Bullard looks like a guy on tape that is a guy that can read, and he's studious, and he knows the film, and he studies, and he can close that gap. And his height, I don't think is going to be a big tremendous disadvantage. It is a disadvantage, and of course it is, but he's a guy that can overcome that easily just because of his athletic ability and his football smarts. Like, he's very intelligent. Like, you watch this guy, he knows what's coming and he gets right into position for it. His arm size 30 3/4, his hand size 9 inches, again on the smaller side, but something that really doesn't matter when it comes to this guy because he's just so athletic. Production score 76, ranks first. Athleticism score 78, ranks fourth. Total score 78, ranks first. Like, great numbers you want to see. 40-yard dash is a 4.47. This is a guy that can fly. He's going to fly at the safety position. It's going to be exciting to see him. His 10-yard split, 1.5. He did not do the vertical jump. He did not do the broad jump. Some things that you definitely do want to see a quarterback kind of do at the NFL Combine. So those are question marks, definitely, for sure. It's like, why didn't he do those? You're a cornerback. Those are big statistics that you want to see. So you want to know. You want to know how high this guy can jump at cornerback or at safety when he's in those positions. You want to see how far this guy can jump in the broad jump. That could be, if he has a defender over the top of him, those are going to be important abilities. You kind of want to see. So it is a bit of a question mark that he didn't do that. But again, this guy's super fast. You almost want to kind of overlook those missing statistics just because how fast this guy is and how athletic this guy is. Going into his player analysis, Bullard isn't a clean fit as a full-time nickel and might lack the length and range teams seek from a split safety. But he's a good football player with field awareness teams are looking for. And yes, exactly. You watch, like I said, his football intelligence is very high. You see his field awareness. This guy is on it. He knows what position to get in. He's quick. He's fast. He knows where to move. It looks like he really studies his tape and he's a student of the game. That's what you want. It almost doesn't matter attributes of a player. You know, their speed, their strength, their size, their hand size, all that stuff. You can overcome all that stuff. You can be incredibly small. You can be incredibly big. You can be incredibly fast. You can be incredibly slow. If you're a student of the game, if you have great field awareness and you really study your game and you really study your opponent and you have football IQ that is very high, you can overcome those things. He's going to be a little tight with lateral movement, which is maybe why we didn't see that, you know, the vertical jump, broad jump, three cone, all that. He's going to be a little tight with lateral movements, which will create some throwing windows. So, you know, maybe he's not as fast coming off those, creating some throwing windows, missed tackles from time to time. This is something you watch his tape. Tackling definitely is something that comes into play for him. It's something that he struggles with. But that also, again, that, like I said in my last video when I was talking about Adrian Cooper, a lot of these weaknesses are things that could be coached up. Missed tackles is something that can absolutely be coached up. And I've always said this about players when it comes to missed tackles. If a player is missing tackles in the NFL, it doesn't come down to the player. It comes down to the technique that the coaches are teaching or helping these players with, right? Your technique in the NFL, regardless of how you play, when you get to this level, the coaches are responsible for making sure that technique is pat down, okay? It needs to be perfect because everyone's fast, everyone's strong, everyone's quick, everyone makes hard hits. So technique is something that is coachable. It's something that he can definitely come over, miss tackles from time to time, but his route recognition and angles of pursuit help to stabilize his play. There will be some challenging matchups, but Georgia provided the blueprint by playing him as a big nickel with run support and modest man cover duties. NFL teams would be wise to follow suit. With the right fit, Bullard should develop into a quality NFL starter. And he should develop into a quality NFL starter. He's going to have Jeff Haley. He's going to have Xavier McKinney, who was a great safety with the New York Giants. And I think Javon Bullard coming to the situation now with the Green Bay Packers in this offseason picked up Xavier McKinney. And now he's going to get to come in and learn from Jeff Haley and learn from Xavier McKinney, who is proven. Is just going to help him expedite the process of becoming a better NFL pro, a better NFL safety, wherever they're going to put him at. If they're going to put him at safety, if they're going to put him at corner, if they're going to have him play more inside, wherever he plays, this guy can play all over this field. He's that athletic, and having those guys around him, especially Xavier, is really going to help this guy grow. I'm super excited for that. Let's get into the strengths. Plays with above average football intelligence and instinct. That's something you watch the tape, you can tell this guy has a high football IQ. He just sees things coming, he recognizes them, and boom, he's right on it. He's not a guy that's just playing off pure instinct and pure athleticism. He's a guy that's playing with some intelligence, a guy that you could tell definitely watches the tape. That's someone you want in your locker room. That's someone you want on your team, especially if you're going to have a Super Bowl run in these next couple of years with the Green Bay Packers. You want a guy that's really all in as a rookie and has a high football IQ. Javon Bullard definitely has that. Patience in reading and reacting to wide receivers' actions. Now, patience is something in the NFL, and we talked about this with Adrian Cooper. Something that maybe Adrian lacks, but something that Javon has, man. That patience is super important. You can't always react because you might over-pursue a guy, and a guy breaks back to the inside. You might misread something, jump a route, and then you got a guy coming over the top breaking free for a touchdown, right? You don't want that. Javon Bullard is a guy who has patience in reading and reacting to wide receivers' actions, and that's everything you want from your cornerback because a safety can really give up the big play, and that's a problem. If you have safeties that are giving up big plays, that's the top. That's a touchdown. That's to the house. You can't have that with your safeties. Spatial awareness helps negate rub routes and pursuit angles, has the route anticipation to shadow breaks from off-man, attacks blockers, with stiff punch to separate as run supporter, centers up, and accelerates through the targets as a tackler. And that's perfect. Weaknesses: could struggle covering large patches of grass as a high safety, so he has a problem closing that gap. Is that something that could be coached? I don't know. Is this something he can read and recognize and maybe close those gaps sooner? Absolutely. And we're just going to have to wait to see. That's definitely going to be the question mark for that. Short strider, lacking comeback speed once he's beaten. So short stride, that's something that's not coachable. But what is coachable is putting yourself in a position that you don't have to compete with a guy stride for stride. If you can get in the right position right off the bat from the start of the play to the end of the play as a safety and put yourself in position that you're not having to compete with a receiver sideline to sideline or up and down the field, and you have to beat him in terms of speed, that's all about positioning. That's something he can learn. That's something he can grasp. It's something this team can definitely help him improve on. Very average burst, close, create limited playmaking range. It's kind of the same thing as the last thing, is that speed. But, learning to put yourself in the right spots, positions, and angles can help you overcome that. Needs to come to a balance a little sooner as an alley runner. Tightness in hips creates inconsistency as an open field tackler. And tackling, again, you work on those fundamentals, you work on tackling, and the coaches can get that right. That's something that can be improved, and that's something, you shouldn't be too worried about as an NFL player. I think this is a guy, it's going to be a question mark. I think he's a guy, because of his athleticism and his abilities and how intense he plays, he can come in and make an impact right away. Is he going to be as productive as Xavier McKinney? No. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to learn. I think there are some negatives and there are a lot of positives. I think the positives obviously outweigh the negatives. I think Javon Bullard is going to be a guy who's going to be a 10-year guy in Green Bay. I think he's going to help contribute to a Super Bowl run. He has some things to improve, definitely, but he has Xavier McKinney here to teach him, and this new defense that seems like it's going in a very strong, aggressive way for the first time in who knows how long. And couldn't be more excited. I think this guy fits right in. I think he's going to be great and productive for the Green Bay Packers in his first year and years to come. And I couldn't be more excited. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, man, pack a plug.